Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil. Before we get into today's video, please do me a small favour. If this is your first time watching today, make sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and be sure to like the video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. The first topic we're going to be talking about is going to be in relation to the goalkeeping position. And the question I have for you today is this: do Manchester United need a new goalkeeper? And if so, who should that goalkeeper be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Maybe you want to keep Onana. Obviously, you can put that as the comment if you want. Maybe you think he should go. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get straight into it. So, in relation to the question, the reason that we're bringing this up this morning is because Sky Sports Germany are reporting today that apparently Manchester United are looking at doing a deal for Gregor Kobel, 27 years of age. Obviously plays for Dortmund in the Bundesliga. Very, very good goalkeeper. He currently only has 2 years left on his deal at, I nearly said Bayern Munich, at Borussia Dortmund. And I think from what I've read, they've been trying to get him to sign a new contract and he hasn't, which has now opened up the door for him to be leaving the club in the summer. There are lots and lots of teams interested in this guy. I think Chelsea are one of the teams interested as well. But Manchester United's name's obviously been thrown into the mix, as it always does. He's quality, absolutely quality. I think he was in the team of the season last year, wasn't he? Across all leagues, I'm pretty sure, in 2023-24. But yeah, I think he'd be a great signing. I do. But then, I thought Onana would be a good signing. So I don't know with goalkeepers anymore. I think the pressure of being a Manchester United goalkeeper seems to swallow a lot of people up. And some of them come out okay, some of them don't. And I think Onana is one of them. You know, he seemed like he had the right personality. He had the right character. He had the right level of confidence. But for whatever reason, he just doesn't perform, does he? But yeah, so Gregor Kobel, 27 years of age. He's played most of Borussia Dortmund's games. He's played 18 games this season. And yes, Manchester United apparently are one of the clubs that have approached or have made at least interest in Gregor Kobel. It says that Chelsea are the other team who are trying to sign him as well. I mean, if we could get rid of Onana and bring in Kobel, I think that would be good business. But the problem we're going to have is we paid, close to 50 million for Andre Onana. And how are we going to claw back that money? Who would give us nearly 50 million for Andre Onana? Probably not many teams. Yeah, so that's the only issue that we've really got. And you can't have Onana and Kobel, really, can you? They're both two high-profile goalkeepers on massive wages who would want to be the number one at the club. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys all think. Maybe you think Costa from Porto. Maybe there's another name that you've got in mind. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I definitely think the goalkeeper position needs addressing. My main reason for this is because we bought a goalkeeper to play out from the back and he just seems to kick it long. He's obviously not particularly good at shot stopping and he's not very good from crosses. We need all of those things to be ticked. If we're going to start becoming a top 4 team again, which sounds embarrassing to even have that as a goal, but small steps. If we're going to become a top 4 team, we need a much better goalkeeper. And I think that's clear to see now. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know whether he's somebody you think we should be going for, or if there's somebody else you have in mind, let me know your thoughts. But I definitely think the goalkeeper position needs addressing. And I think that Gregor Kobel would be a good option for that position. So yeah, we'll see how that one progresses. Obviously, this is going to have to be a summer signing. It's not going to be a now because obviously the window's closed. I can see some people in the chat saying Diego Costa. Yeah, Diego Costa would be a great option. Really like Diego Costa. Maybe we should have signed Diego Costa in the first place, some would say. But we didn't. We went for Andre Onana. So, yeah, unfortunately, we can't, go back to, we can't go back and say we don't want him anymore. So we're stuck with him. Paul in the chat is saying this morning that we need 8 players to make us half decent. I would probably agree. I mean, eight players. So that would be, you're probably keeping Ugarte. You're probably keeping Lenny Yoro. Probably keeping Who else would we keep? I don't know. I don't know who the other player is. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the game yesterday because it was absolutely woeful, wasn't it? Another awful performance by Manchester United. And you know what? Fair play to Ruben Amorim. He came out after the game and said that it was an awful performance. And I respect that a lot. He also came out after the game and said the goal was offside. So I have a lot of respect for Ruben. And I think that if Ruben wasn't so honest and didn't come across as relatable to the fan base, I think there would be questions being asked about him. But the fact that he's just completely honest and said, I didn't want to come halfway through the season. I told Ineos that it wasn't a good idea. They forced me, effectively. They said if I don't come now, I don't get the job. When we win, he says we didn't play well. We like that because it shows that he has standards. And I hope and pray that he turns things around because at the moment, let's be honest, it is absolutely terrible, realistically. I know we're through to the next round of the FA Cup and the next round of the Europa League, which is something. Our season could be over by now if the Europa League had gone how it was going under Ten Hag. And if last night had gone worse, we could be out of all competitions and be 13th in the Premier League with nothing left to play for at all, which would be absolutely miserable. So at least in February, we are still in 2 cup competitions. Manchester United historically in the last few years have been quite good in the cup competition. So I have some hope that we can maybe in the second half of the season try and reclaim what's been a woeful year. But obviously the performances need to improve because the main thing that Man United fans complained about under Ten Hag was that the performances were bad. Most fans said, I'm not bothered about winning the League Cup. I want to see good football. And now we've got a manager who we brought in to play good football and the performances are worse. So I do think it's important that we win something this year. And I don't think that that's unrealistic. And I know people will be like, you've got to give him time. Erik Ten Hag, who most people wanted out, won an FA Cup in his first season and got 3rd place. And he arguably had a worse squad than what we've got now, realistically. Let's be fair. He did. If you look at... Let's have a look at the... Sorry, he won a League Cup in his first season. Let's have a look at the squad for that game. Who did we play? Manchester United versus Newcastle League Cup squad. Let's have a little look. Let's do a bit of a comparison. Is this for the League Cup? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so the Carabao Cup final. Our team was this: De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Luke Shaw, Fred, Casemiro, Anthony, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, and Weghorst. That was the team that Erik Ten Hag used to win the FA Cup. Let's have a little look through this, to be fair. Let's go from the beginning. Do we have a worse squad now? Dalot, so let's start in the goalkeeper. I would take De Gea back over Onana any day of the week, 100%. Obviously, Dalot plays still now. Varane, I would take Varane back over Maguire. Obviously, Varane doesn't play football anymore, but I'm just comparing the two squads because the point I made was that Erik Ten Hag's squad was worse when he came in than what Ruben Amorim's is now. So De Gea I would take, so that's one. Varane I would take over Maguire. Luke Shaw I would take over Dalot at left wing back, definitely. But Luke Shaw is injured, so that's not really a point. Fred, I would probably take Fred in the midfield over Bruno in that more deeper role. Fred was a workhorse. He wasn't the best, but he was a workhorse. I honestly think that the squad we have now is better than what we had before, slightly. I mean, we had Weghorst up front. But we did have a pretty decent bench looking at it. You had people like Sabitzer, you had Jadon Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Garnacho, Lindelof, Maguire. So we had a good bench. But still, the point I'm trying to make here is that I think most Man United fans wanted to see an improvement in the style of play. And I know people will say, it's early days, it's early days. I get all of that. It is early days. You know, he's been here for, 2 months now, is it? He's probably been here for about 20 games. But the performances haven't got better. We've had weeks now of training because that was always the complaint before. And that was what I always used to say. I used to say, well, you can't really judge him because he hasn't had any training sessions. Whereas we have had a good few weeks worth of training now, solid 5-6 days of training. We've got, our next game isn't until a week on Sunday. So we've got, 9 days between our last game, which was yesterday, and our next game. So there is plenty of time on the training pitch now. So we can't just keep using this same excuse of, oh, we don't have any training sessions, because we do now. We have training sessions and we should be able to implement ideas, tactics, patterns of play. Like, we should start to see that. So, yeah, it's just frustrating, isn't it? It's just frustrating that we're playing against Leicester City, who've lost, I think it was 8 out of the last 9 Premier League games. And we didn't look any better than them. We looked level with them. The second half, we were slightly better. Obviously, Garnacho came on, changed the game. But generally, we didn't look any better than Leicester, who are absolutely awful. So it is a cause for concern. We can keep blaming the players. That's fine. But you have to also put some emphasis on the manager as well. You have to. Does the system work? I'm not sure if it does. I think you have to put some criticism on the formation. You know, because we have now got an attacking wing back in Dorgu, who I thought was absolutely exceptional in that first half, and he got substituted at half time. So I don't know what he did wrong. Arguably, Garnacho came on and did change the game, but what I don't understand is, why is Diogo Dalot untouchable? Why does he get picked every single game without fail? You know? And why as well was Dalot on the left and Patrick Dorgu on the right? There are some questions that are now starting to be asked. But as I said, in all fairness, it's not like, it's not like Ruben Amorim came out after the game and said, oh, we performed well. That was what Ollie would say. Ollie used to say things like, oh, we performed well after we just put an absolute stinker in. And Erik ten Hag would come out saying, oh, trust the process after we just put an absolute stinker in. But at least with Amorim, he comes out and he just says it how it is. And I like that about him. I like the fact that he's honest. I like the fact that he doesn't try and trick us, if that makes sense. He's just honest and blunt, which I really respect. So let's hope that we start to see some better football, because we do still have an opportunity here to make something of this season. If we were to win the FA Cup or the Europa League, like that, I would be happy with that. It's a trophy, and it shows that we are going in some way of the right direction. And you need to win trophies at Manchester United if you're the manager. It would give him a little bit less pressure on him from the media, and it would then at least allow us to get into Europe. Because remember, our only chance of getting into Europe is either by winning the FA Cup or winning the Europa League. If we win the Europa League, we get in the Champions League. If we win the FA Cup, we get in the Europa League. So we have to win one of those 2 trophies. And in relation to like the path to the FA Cup final, we're not that far away. We don't have that many games now to get there. We played the 4th round last night, right? You've got the 5th round, which is on Saturday, the 1st of March. Then you've got the quarterfinal, then the semi-final, which will be at Wembley, and then you're in the final. So to actually get to the final, there's only 3 more games. And I think in 3 individual games, obviously it depends who we play, but we should be able to aim to do that. The same with the Europa League. We're in the round of 16, so you've got to play home and away in the round of 16. That's 2 games. Home and away in the last 8, which is 2 games. Home and away in the semi-final. So we've got 6 games to get to the Europa League final, and we've got 3 games to get to the FA Cup final. So it's not that much when you look at it like that, and it should be a realistic target to try and do that. But yeah, I would be happy if we won one of those 2 trophies. M-Dub is saying, I didn't expect you to give up on the manager so quickly. So I'm a little bit confused here, right? I assume you're somebody who hasn't watched the channel for very long, because even when Erik ten Hag was on the brink of being sacked, I was still behind Erik ten Hag. But I would still criticise Erik ten Hag at the same time. You're able to criticise a manager, and that doesn't mean that you want them sacked. You can't just blindly follow a manager and be like, oh, I trust I'm not going to criticise him. I'm just like, that's not how the world works. So I'm not giving up on the manager. I'm questioning the manager, and that's the job. And Ruben Amorim's opened himself up for questioning. He said that the performances are awful. He said that he's the one to blame. So maybe Ruben Amorim's given up on himself, if you're going on that logic. Ruben Amorim is speaking to the media, which millions and millions of people will watch, saying that the performances are awful and saying that he's the one to blame. I'm coming on the YouTube show, speaking to 200 people, saying that I don't understand why Patrick Dorgu played on the wrong side and he got substituted, and saying that I'm not sure if the tactics are working at the moment. I mean, I don't think that's that critical, is it? It's a pretty fair point to make. I'm not saying that I want Ruben Amorim sacked. There isn't any other option. Who else would you bring in? There isn't. The same with Ten Hag. When Ten Hag was the manager, I didn't really want him sacked, to be honest, because I didn't think it would make any difference. And it hasn't. If anything, it's got worse. You know? And I'm not trying to say like, oh, I told you so. But I remember at the time when people were, every single time I went live, people were screaming, why are you backing Erik Ten Hag? Why, you know, if he gets sacked, we'll win the league. And I was saying, like, that's fine that you all have your opinions, and everyone's entitled to their opinion in football, of course. But I genuinely thought at the time that sacking Erik Ten Hag would make no difference. Sacking Ruben Amorim will make no difference. And we've learned that now. We've learned the hard way. You know? And arguably, sacking Erik Ten Hag has made things worse. Because at least when Erik Ten Hag came in after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked, Erik Ten Hag came in and got third and got us a trophy in his first season. We're going to be lucky to finish in the top half of the table. Ruben Amorim has the worst managerial record of any manager since Sir Alex Ferguson so far. He's lost 5 out of 7 home games in the Premier League. Jose Mourinho was here for 3 years and he didn't lose 5 games in 3 years at home. So, you know, if you want to be critical of him, you could start bringing up all of these stats. But I'm not doing that, am I? I'm just simply saying that I don't understand the favouritism around Dalot, which I think is a fair criticism. I'm not sure if the tactics are working at the moment, which isn't even an opinion, that's a fact. We didn't have a single shot on target in the first half again, and we conceded a goal. So the tactics clearly aren't working, are they? But I mean, if you're not creating chances and you're conceding goals when you're playing a back 5, then the tactics clearly aren't working. And I didn't understand why Dorgu was taken off at half-time. But then I countered that by saying, what I do like is the fact that Ruben Amorim after the game said the performance was awful and said that he said the performance was awful and he said that he was the one to blame. And I like that about him. And things can only get better from here, really. So let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Hal says we can't really judge Ruben Amorim until he gets his own players. These players don't suit this system. But we said that about Ten Hag as well. We said that about Ten Hag, and then Ten Hag decided that the only way that he could succeed at Manchester United was by parking the bus. I put this out on Twitter yesterday. I'm telling you now, if we played a park the bus back 4 style setup, like we did under Ten Hag, like we did under Mourinho, like we did under Ole, hitting on the counter-attack, I reckon we'd be in the top 4 this season, 100%. Because our players, at the moment, suit that style of play, don't they? They suit where you sit back, you hit on the counter with pace, ball over the top from Bruno, players running onto it, goal. And, you know, you can say that he hasn't got his players yet, which I agree with, but obviously Manuel Ugarte played under him at Sporting. Patrick Dorgu is his signing. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that we have got a few players in that first team that are players that Ruben Amorim wants. Patrick Dorgu, he's just signed. Manuel Ugarte played for him under Sporting. Dalot, he clearly likes. He plays every single minute of every single game, so he clearly likes him. You know? So it's easy for us to say, oh, he doesn't like any of the players, but if he doesn't like the players, why does he pick Dalot every game? When he's just bought a left wing back, when he had Malacia, when he has Harry Amas, when he has other, do you know what I mean? So yeah. 20 Legend says, I think he put Dalot on the other side so he could coach Dalot from the sideline. So he could coach Dorgu from the sidelines. That's quite a good theory, to be fair, because there are a few clips on social media this morning of Ruben Amorim shouting, telling Dorgu what to do effectively. Because remember, he only signed a couple of years ago. That does make sense. Yeah, maybe that was it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's just a short one. There's not that much to talk about at the moment, is there? Obviously, there's this talk about the goalkeeper. The game last night was awful. I'm not going to sit here for too long. I'm going to go and have my breakfast. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your Saturdays, whatever you're doing. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe before you go. This has been Daily Red Devil.